Well, hi guys. Coach Jerry here at the Protocol in Tucson, Arizona, and welcome to the whiteboard. Today's topic, advancing beyond the beginner level. Today's question actually comes to us from our FAQs. I was speaking with a student about this. They have made it past those early beginner phases of training, and they wanted to find out what it's going to look like to be able to continue to make progress once we're past those first few stages. So before we get into it, I want to talk a little bit about the why. And the reason that I wanted to talk to you and shoot this video today was because a typical fitness program with a reasonably good instructor is going to do a pretty good job taking someone from doing nothing to doing something. So this is somebody who's maybe spent a little too much time sitting behind the desk or sitting on the couch, and they want to get started, but they don't know what to do. Most of your typical fitness programs are going to do just fine taking somebody from, like, say, they have programs out there called Couch Potato to a 5K race, or starting strength, and these are all great programs for getting people started. And there's a couple of things about that we'll talk about. So with the beginner, we've got the bad and we've got the good. The bad part about being a beginner is being a newbie. Everything is weird, everything feels awkward, nothing feels natural. Some people are a little self-conscious in the gym in this stage. So the bad is everything feels awkward. Nobody likes to be a beginner. Nobody likes to feel awkward. Everybody wants to be awesome at stuff. I'm the same way. However, there is a good here. And the good thing is newbie gains. Newbie gains are awesome. When you're new, you're basically a little bit stronger every time you walk into a gym. And this phase will continue for maybe 3 to 6 months of training pretty consistently. You start talking to advanced lifters, they'll tell you things like, if I can add 5 to 10 pounds to a lift in a year, I'm excited. I mean, that's a lot of progress. That feels really good. And then, of course, if you're an advanced lifter and you're also an older lifter, you may have a situation where every year that you're not weaker is a victory. So you're trying to preserve all the strength that you've built for as many years as possible. There's a running joke in powerlifting. They say the open division, those are the young people. It's a game of who's trying to get the strongest, the fastest. In the masters lifters, these are the older lifters, the game is very different. It's a game of who's getting weaker the slowest. So that's the big difference here. But when you're new, you get newbie gains, and newbie gains are awesome. You get to enjoy those. Life is good. So then we get to the pesky intermediate level. Now, with the pesky intermediate level, number one, the gains are slower. This is also statistically where most people either quit or change programs. Now, this thing about people quitting is something that can very easily be seen in most of your traditional run-of-the-mill fitness programs. I don't want to mention any of these companies by name. Some of them have done a really good job picking a number between 44 and 46. Other programs have theories about fruit. But regardless of which one it is, the average student, or in their case, client, stays with their program on average for about 90 days. That's about how long it takes before they churn. And there's a couple of reasons for that, but this is that pesky intermediate. Like they've enjoyed all the fruits of being a newbie. They've kind of gotten some small results, and they're feeling pretty good. And then they kind of hit that wall, and because they don't feel like they're continuing to make progress, this is where they quit. This is also where a lot of people will change programs. Now, changing programs may not necessarily be a bad thing in the sense that if you joined a program that is specifically designed to get you from nothing to something and it doesn't do much beyond that, well, then maybe changing programs is a good idea. But really, that's not what typically happens. What typically happens is people want to change programs to recreate the illusion of progress of being a newbie. So this is one of those things where people will do a program that's a completely different modality, which has a completely different stimulus to their body. And when they do that, they get those newbie gains again, because now you're chasing another shiny object. Unfortunately, this progress is an illusion. So you want to be careful with this, because you're not actually making progress. You're just being terrible at a different thing and enjoying the newbie gains for another short season. So this is the trap that a lot of people get stuck in. At this point, I'm going to take a moment to have a humble brag. The average fitness program has a churn rate at about 90 days. The average person stays about 90 days in the program. In our program, our rolling average is 39 months. It is way significantly higher than the industry norms. And I'd like to think that part of the reason that we are able to get those kind of results as far as people sticking around is people who get stronger every year tend to not get bored of their training program. So the next thing we're going to talk about here is, how does that happen? So again, in our gym, I need 3 hands. So we're a community of just under 100 people total, and I need 3 hands to count the number of people who have been here for more than 10 years. So how do we do it? How do we advance? So that brings us to our next topic here, which is the 2 components of advancing beyond a beginner level. So let's talk about them. The first component is you can train more. You can just train more. When you're new, those training sessions may get you. You may end up more sore than you want to be, and it's more and more difficult to recover between training sessions. As your body becomes more and more tolerant to the training, you are able to train more. So I'll give you an example. I've been lifting now competitively for over 2 decades. I have a movement practice. I have a training regimen that I do pretty much 7 days a week. This was not something that I could do as a beginner. Now, they are not particularly intense all the time. So there's a cycling, which we'll get to. But one of the marks of so this is the good of training more. The good of training more is, this is one of the marks of being an advanced lifter. If you're advanced, you have a movement practice that you do virtually daily. So this is one of the first steps of graduating, not only from the beginner level and not only the intermediate level, but also to graduate to the advanced level, which is ultimately where we like to be, where this sort of thing just becomes a lifestyle. So the bad, of course, is that if your program is not designed well, you'll burn out, because you can't just train super hard 7 days a week. There's always what I'm gonna kill off this number 2 for just a second so I can talk about one more thing. There's always this continuum. You have minimal training over here. As Louis Simmons used to eloquently put it, you can't train like that because that's for sissies. You don't want to do that. Over here, you have training maximally. And you can't do that either, because after a while your body just starts to go backwards. You quit making progress. There's a sweet spot somewhere here in the middle, which is what we call optimal training. And this is also what Tim Ferriss sometimes refers to as the minimum effective dose. Anything less does not produce the desired outcome. Anything more causes problems. In the case of what we're talking about here, that more could mean injuries. Even if you're not getting injured, if you're overtrained and you cannot properly recover, you're just not going to make progress. And obviously that's not what we're after here. So this is what we would call base building. Louis Simmons had a thing that he liked to talk about a lot. He would draw one of these pyramids on the whiteboard, and he would say, how tall is this pyramid? And it's not really a trick question. It's the height of a pyramid is equal to the width of its base. So in the strength training analogy, a lot of us are chasing these peaks, especially when you're a beginner. You're trying to get bigger maxes. So this would be like chasing a 1-rep max. At some point when your progress stalls, you have to find a different option. So imagine if this was sand, and I was pouring sand to the top of the base trying to make it taller. Well, what's going to happen here is the sand is going to be running off to the sides, and it would collect down at the bottom. And then eventually the base would get a little bit wider, and then as I poured more sand, I would build a wider base, and then I could have a taller peak. So what does this look like in strength training? Well, there's a couple things. Number one, instead of chasing 1 rep maxes, maybe you look at establishing a new 8 RM, a 5 RM, 5 rep max, a 3 RM. All of these numbers, number one, are going to have a lot more wear and tear, a lot less wear and tear on your body and your nervous system, but also by building that wider base, you will eventually be able to reach higher peaks with the wider base. So all of this falls into that category of the first component, which is train more. So we've added more frequency, we're moderating the intensity, we're moderating how crazy we're making our sessions. We found a good minimum effective dose, we're finding an optimal way of training, and we can use that tool to be able to advance beyond a beginner level and enjoy the intermediate gains. The second component of advancing beyond the beginner level is a term that I learned from one of my mentors, Charles Staley, and he calls it improving your skill strength. What does it mean to improve your skill strength? Well, here it is on a bumper sticker. You get better at doing the thing. You're able to increase the weight of what you're using or what you're doing in a particular lift, not because you're getting stronger or because your volume is bigger or whatever. You're able to put more weight on the bar because you're just simply better at it. So an example is, let's take a complex movement like the squat or the deadlift. Deadlift is a very technical lift. There's a lot of moving parts to it. I would say comfortably, I've got probably 30 or 40 things that I could tell you about a deadlift that would make that bar feel just a little tiny bit lighter. And it takes a long time to be able to assimilate those skills. When we're new and we're just trying to get those big picture things, we'll make some progress. Once we start getting into the intermediate level, if we want to continue to make progress, now you almost have to revisit those skills and figure out, okay, where are my weak links? Where is my technique deficient? And by improving your skill strength, you're actually not getting stronger. You're just able to squat more because you're just better at squatting. So there's a wide variety of ways to do that, but there's one important principle that I'll share with you today. Improving your skill strength does not happen with very, very high intensity and very heavy weights. Because when it's so heavy, the only thing that you're thinking about when you're walking that bar out of there is, please God, let me lift this. Please God, let me lift this. That's not where you're improving your skill strength. Most of that is done in lighter poundages. I also like to tell people that a lot of it is done during your warm-ups. A lot of people don't take their warm-ups very seriously. They just come in like warm-up is just, so I get some blood flow going and get my body temperature up and prevent injury. That's true, and that's important. But if you think of every warm-up set that you do is rehearsal for the big one, it's going to change your mindset. And you'll be, with the lighter weight, you're really going to be able to feel what you need to feel to hone in that technique. So you can train with lighter loads. You can take your warm-ups more seriously, but all of that sort of stuff is going to get you to where you are just simply going to get better at doing the thing. Getting better at doing the thing is one of the most highly undervalued things that I think is in my industry. If you think of almost any hobby that you would have outside of here, almost all hobbies require a very high level of skill. And if there's a hobby that you enjoy, think about I enjoy playing music outside of here. For many, many years, I was terrible at my instrument, and you just keep practicing anyway until you just suck at it less. And once you get to that phase, then you get to learn and grow even more. So the problem with my industry is that, partially I blame us. It's the marketing that says, get ripped in 90 days or whatever. Nothing in there is talking about we're going to take you under our wing and we're going to really show you how to do this stuff right. So some of it is my own industry. So I shouldn't be too harsh on that. But this part is something that I think cannot be emphasized more. So guys, there you have it. The two components of advancing beyond a beginner level. If you are one of these folks and you feel like your progress has stalled and you want to have a coach take a peek at some of your lifts or take a peek at some of your program design, I'm absolutely happy to do that. You can reach out to me at the information that'll be down in the description here for the video. Otherwise, happy training, and we'll catch you guys again next time.